You know, it is the most extraordinary thing. We come into this world and we are taught, with the very best of intentions, of course, to play a game. It's a very serious game. The game is that you must be you, and you are given a name, and you are told a story about who you are. This is your family, this is your home, this is what you re good at, this is what you re not so good at. And you become, with a great deal of practice, an expert at being this particular person. But have you never had that peculiar feeling, perhaps very late at night, or looking up at a vast sky full of stars? The feeling that you are not quite real, that the person you have been so busy being is a performance, a tremendously skillful, long-running, and utterly convincing performance. But a performance nonetheless, that the prevalent sensation of oneself as a separate ego enclosed in a bag of skin is in fact a hallucination. 1, 2, wake up. You are only pretending to be you. Now, this is not a criticism. It's not to say that you are being phony. In fact, our culture helps us to be genuine fakes. It's a social necessity. We have to play these roles to get along with one another. The word person, you see, comes from the Latin persona, which was the mask worn by actors in ancient theater. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. The mask had a megaphone, shaped mouth through which the sound, the sona, would pass. So, to be a person is to wear a mask. 3, 5. The problem is not the wearing of the mask, but the forgetting that you are wearing it. 4, we become so identified with the role that we mistake it for our true self. 7, 8, 9. This role, this idea of ourselves, is what we call the ego. But this ego has no physical reality. 8, 10. It is a social institution, a symbol of yourself, in the same way that the word water is a sound that represents a certain liquid. But you cannot get wet from the word itself. 8, 11. The idea of me is a useful fiction, a story we tell ourselves. But it is not the living, breathing, and altogether mysterious organism that you are. 7, 8. This game begins the moment you are born. You come out of this world, not into it, in the same way a leaf comes out of a tree or a wave out of the ocean. 1:12, you are an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. But almost immediately, you are taught to feel separate, to feel like a visitor, a stranger in this world. You are taught to identify not with the whole organism, but with a small, constricted center of consciousness that feels as though it lives somewhere behind the eyes and between the ears. 9, we say, I have a body, but we don't. Say, I am a body. 9, this implies that the I is something separate from the physical organism, a little pilot in the head, a chauffeur driving the body around. 9, this little pilot, this skin, encapsulated ego, feels surrounded by a world that is profoundly other and alien to it. 1, 9, 13. And from this initial mistake, this sense of fundamental separation, arises a whole host of anxieties. Because if you are separate from the world, you must control it. You must conquer nature. You must beat the world into submission to your will, because you are afraid of it. 9, you feel that you are a tender center of consciousness and feeling confronted by a universe that does take care. 9. And so you begin to live a life of chronic tension. The ego is a feeling of muscular strain. It's a constant resistance against the natural flow of things. 9, 11, a holding on, a clutching. We try to make life predictable, to make the future secure, to hold on to pleasures, and to push away pain. This constant effort, this chronic contraction, which in Sanskrit is called saikaka, is the physical sensation we identify as the ego. 11, it is, if you will, the marriage of an illusion, the image of ourselves, to a futility, the attempt to stand apart from the seamless fabric of existence. 11, think of a whirlpool in a stream. It has a definite form, a constant pattern. But it is nothing other than the water of the stream itself. There is no separate thing that is the whirlpool. It is a behavior of the stream. In just the same way, your ego, your sense of self, is a pattern, a form, a behavior of the entire universe. You are not a puppet that life pushes around. The real, deep down you is the whole universe. 14. The trouble begins when the whirlpool imagines it is separate from the water and begins to worry about its own survival. It is a ridiculous and tragic predicament. So, the first step is to see the game for what it is, to see that the separate you is a social convention, a role you have been playing with immense sincerity, but it is not who you are, not really. So, what happens when the mask begins to slip? What happens when you get an inkling that the character you're replaying is just that? A character, well, at first, it can be terrifying, because we have invested so much in this role. We have based our entire lives on the notion that I am this separate, continuous entity. We think we are the thinker of our thoughts, the feeler of our feelings, the doer of our deeds. To question that is to pull the rug out from under your own feet. And society does help. You see, society is in on the game. It tells you, be yourself. But this is a double bind, a command which cannot be obeyed. The harder you try to be your real self, the more artificial you become. It's like trying to be spontaneous on purpose, or trying to relax by clenching all your muscles. The instruction, be yourself, is based on the false premise that yourself is something you can grasp and possess, like an object. But you can tee it. It's like trying to bite your own teeth. The very effort to find and secure yourself is what creates the constant sensation of anxiety. The ego lives in a perpetual state of emergency. It is always looking out for itself, defending itself, promoting itself. Why? Because it is fundamentally insecure. It knows deep down that it doesn't really exist. It is a ghost, a mirage, and it lives in constant fear of being found out. So it spends all its time and energy trying to make itself permanent, to solidify itself. We have come to believe that life is a journey, a kind of pilgrimage with a serious purpose at the end. The purpose, perhaps, is to arrive at success or heaven or security in old age. But we are so obsessed with the destination that we forget the journey itself. We are always rushing, always hurrying, always living for a future that never arrives. But life is not a journey. It is a piece of music. And you are supposed to sing or dance while the music is being played. The point of a musical composition is not to get to the end. If the point of a symphony was to reach the final chord, then the best conductors would be those who played the fastest, and there would be composers who wrote only finales. But we don't see that as the point of music. We go to a concert to listen, to be with the sound in its unfolding. We enjoy the melodies, the rhythms, the harmonies as they happen. Life is exactly like that. The point is not to win the game, not to get to the end of the book, but to be absolutely with it as it happens, to be with the sound, to be with the dance. But the ego, the separate I, cannot do this. It is always trying to get one up on the universe. It is always thinking about the next beat, the next measure, worrying if it will be as good as the last one, or hoping it will be better. And you miss the music. Our thinking mind is the primary tool of the ego. This constant chatter in the skull, this voice that is always commenting, judging, calculating, and complaining. This inner monologue is what we take to be ourselves. But it is not. It is simply a stream of thoughts, like clouds passing in the sky. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. You are the vast, open awareness in which the thoughts appear and disappear. We use language. We use thought to chop the world up into little bits. We give everything a name. This is a tree. That is a person. This is good. That is bad. And in so doing, we create a world of separate things. But this is a conceptual world, a world of labels. It is not the real world. The real world is a seamless, undivided, vibrating, and utterly mysterious whole. The thinking mind cannot grasp this. It's like trying to catch water in a net. So we go on, clutching at this phantom self, this idea of me, believing it to be the most real thing there is. We are like a person who has clenched his fist so tightly for so long that he has forgotten how to open it. And if I tell you to relax your hand, you might say, I can tee. I have to hold on. But if I ask you, what are you holding on to? You look and you realize there is nothing inside. The tension itself is the only thing that was there. The effort of holding on creates the illusion that there is something to be held. So, you see, the letting go is not another form of effort. You cannot will yourself to relax. In the same way, you cannot force yourself to go to sleep. The ego, this clenched fist of consciousness, will always say, I will let go. But that is just another contraction, another subtle act of holding on by the very entity that needs to be seen through. The real letting go happens not through doing, but through seeing. It happens when you look directly at the sensation of I, when you try to put your finger on this self you've been protecting your whole life. And you look and you look, and you find that you can find it. What do you actually find? You find a thought, a memory, a feeling in your stomach, a tension between the eyes. But where is the thinker of the thought? Where is the center to which all these experiences are happening? The more you look for it, the more it seems to disappear. It is a ghost that vanishes when you shine a light on it, when this frantic searching for a self ceases, because you have seen its utter futility. Then the hand simply opens on its own. There is a profound relaxation, not a collapse, but a release into what is. And in that release, you discover something far more wonderful than any fortified ego could ever imagine. You discover that you are not something in the world, but the world itself. The boundary between you and the universe dissolves, not because you have expanded to swallow the cosmos, but because you have realized that the boundary was never there in the first place. It was a line drawn in your mind. You are not the lonely captain of your soul. You are the ship, the ocean, and the sky all at once. The universe is not something that is happening to you. It is happening as you. Every hair on your head, every beat of your heart is an event of the same order as the shining of a star or the turning of a galaxy. You are not a stranger here. You grew out of this world. You are a feature of it in the same way that an apple is a feature of an apple tree. The tree, apples, and the universe peoples. It is as simple and as mysterious as that. So, for a moment, just stop. Stop trying to improve yourself. Stop trying to find yourself. Stop trying to escape yourself. And just be aware. Listen to the sounds that are in this room. Don't label them. Don't call them traffic or a cough or the hum of the lights. Just hear the pure vibration without the story. Let the sound wash through you. Where does the sound end and you begin? Feel the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and then leaving again. Are you doing this breathing, or are you simply being breathed? Notice that it happens all by itself. This magnificent rhythmic process that has sustained you your entire life, happening without your control, without your permission. It is the universe breathing right here. And the great secret, you see, the one that you have been hiding from yourself, is that this is it. This awareness, this is the destination you have been seeking. There is no final attainment, no grand enlightenment in the future. There is only this, the ever-present, ever-changing, eternal now. And you are it. The whole game of pretending to be a separate me was a kind of cosmic play, a game of hide and seek you have been playing with yourself for the sheer fun of it. You pretended to be this poor little anxious ego so that you could have the marvelous experience of forgetting who you are, and then the astonishing delight of waking up again to the reality of your own divine nature. So do not try to get rid of your ego. That is just the ego playing another one of its clever games, the game of being spiritual. Instead, just become aware of it. Watch it, be amused by its antics, its worries, its ambitions. But do not for a moment believe that it is you, because what you are, in the deepest sense, is the silence in which the music plays. You are the empty space in which the whole dance of life happens. And when you know that, truly know it, not just as an idea, but as a living reality, you can play any role, any game at all, with absolute freedom and joy. Because you know you are not the mask. You are the whole show.